I'm AC Brown, and you're listening to Is My Aura On Straight, a podcast designed to help you start living from your core instead of your conditioning. Each week, we'll discuss topics ranging from human design, astrology, metaphysics, spiritual self-development, and everything in between. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Is My Aura On Straight. I am your host, AC Brown. I am your spiritual doula, intuitive strategist, and human design expert, and I'm also an entrepreneur, and I want to thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Is My Aura On Straight. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. Oh, sorry. Without a dope beat to step to. That's a little Timbaland and Aaliyah. It has been a while. Not that long. It feels like a while, but I had some, just things going on, and I'm a busy lady. But it's, I'm back at it, and you will be getting podcast episodes regularly. But today I want to talk about one of my favorite things in human design, and that is the gates. And we're going to call this episode Guidance Through the Gates. And I absolutely love talking about the human design gates. That is like my, that's like my jam. And other things in your human design chart are my jam as well. But this is like the jam for me. I have studied the gates, my own gates. I've studied the gates in people and their personalities and all of that stuff. And, I wanted to come on here today and talk about it. And then probably the next episode or episode after that, we're going to talk about the centers, because that's super important as well. But I wanted to start with the gates. So this is just an overview of the human design gates and why they matter. The gates are just an amazing way for you to learn more about yourself, to learn more about your strengths and some of your weaknesses that you need to overcome. And I'm going to talk all about that. So we're going to talk about what the gates are, how they show up in your chart, how they affect your personality, how you master them, all of that stuff. So let's get started. Well, what are the gates and why do they matter? So there are 64 gates in your human design chart. The gates are corresponding to the hexagram in the I Ching. Also, the gates are tied to your DNA as well. So your gates are the energies and potentials of your personality. And what that means is that everybody, how in astrology, like, I'm a Pisces with a Sagittarius rising. That's me, in general. But, your gates are, when somebody does, oh, you act like a Pisces, you act like a Sagittarius, or your moon must be this, or your moon must be that, or all of those things that show up in your personality. The gates are those type of traits. So they're like, I call them like your little mini superpowers that you have in your chart. The things that make you creative, the things that make you want to study more, the things that make you automatically abundant, the things that make you question things, the things that bring certain things into your reality, and how they're expressed in your day to day. What makes you, fearful of something, or what makes something work out for you in certain ways. Anybody who's had a reading with me knows that I go in with the gates, and I, match that with your life and what you're going through and the why you do things. And that's where the gates come into play. Now, in human design, you can only have a maximum of 26 active gates in your chart. That is still a lot. I don't know what the lowest amount I've seen in people, but I've seen people who have the max of 26. So, and that's a lot of energy. That's a lot of personality. And we're going to get into what all of that means. So, like I said, a gate is an energy. A gate is part of your personality. So we all have every gate in our chart. We all have everything in our chart. And what that means is that anything that is white in your chart, that just means that it's either active or it's not active. So anything that's white in your chart, that means, a gate, that means that it's not active. So the lines that are, you see the red, black, checkered, that means that they are active. If it is white, that means it's not active. So that means that when you are around somebody who has that particular gate, you can amplify those energies for them. So the gates represent energies. The energies affect who you truly are, how you react, how you communicate, and how you connect with others. When a gate, and I'll get into that, but gates, when they're connected to another gate in a center, they form channels. We'll talk about that. But first, we're just going to talk about the gates, and we're going to talk about not some of my favorite gates. I don't want to say that because I don't want people who don't have these gates to feel like they're not special, because every gate in human design is special. And it's just about, and I want to reiterate that too, because sometimes when people hear me say, oh, my favorite gates, yada, yada, that's just my preference in my just way of doing stuff when I, tell people, oh, this is one of my favorite gates, just because I've studied the gate, and I see the power of the gate, and I see what people who have utilized that part of their personality have accomplished, and that's what makes it a favorite of mine. But if you don't have those gates, that's totally fine. It's about working with what you have. So I like to also say that the gates are like a deck of cards. Everybody, you're playing, the whole, you play the hand that you're dealt with. And that is what the gates are. If you are a spades player, if any, hopefully somebody who's listening knows how to play spades. When you play spades or any type of card game, poker, spades, you are dealt a certain amount of cards. You're dealt the cards. Those are the cards that you're dealt with. That's your gates. And you have to pretty much make hands, make plays with utilizing those gates. So that's what the gates are. It's the deck of cards that you've been dealt with for your life. And it's how you play them. So like I said, a gate is either black, red, or checkered, meaning black and white. So we'll start with a red gate. Red is an unconscious personality trait. That is where your gates are red. It's a red line there. And it is my belief that these personality traits are things that you need to evolve into or learn how to embrace in this lifetime. It never fails. After all my years of studying human design and reading charts, people who either come to human design or haven't really mastered themselves yet, the red gates are probably the hardest for you to master because they're unconscious. That means that it is very, I don't want to say difficult. It is a challenge for you to tap into those. And when you are here in this lifetime and when you experience those red gates, the unconscious part, you also experience the lowest side of the gate, or like I like to say, the depressed side of the gate. For instance, there's a gate called Gate 42, and Gate 42 means completion. In its unconscious form, you always might feel stuck. You always might feel flaky or unable to finish things. That is the unconscious side of it. And anybody who's worked with me, your goal is to master that gate and get to the other side of the gate. That is really, that's the goal of it. And at times, some gates are harder to master, and that depends on the planets that are, associated with that gate. But we're not going to get into the planets. That'll be saved for like a master class or something like that. Because that's the thing about human design. It's so many layers, and people want to go from A to Z so quickly, and just like, oh, I just want to be at Z. I just want to know this stuff so I can just like live my best life and call it a day. And it really doesn't work like that, because as you know, self-development, spiritual self-development is a process. It's about unpacking the layers. It's about figuring out what's going to work for you, what's not going to work for you. So at times, people always want to know all about the human design, all about their chart. Sometimes it really doesn't need to apply to you. Right now, what you're doing in life, diving deeper sometimes will do you harm. And I think that people have a misconception sometimes when it comes to human design, because they just want to know everything. And I always say, learn the basics about yourself first, and then, start with your strategy. Worry about, focusing on your strategy first, for, 6 months, and then go on to, deconditioning yourself through the centers, and then start working on your gates. I love the gates. I'm working on a few things that revolve the gates, because the gates are so powerful. But like I said, the red gates are, I believe that they are red and unconscious because they are meant for you to master in this lifetime. And I feel like when I read people's charts, when I work with coaching clients, the red gates people struggle with the most and incorporating those things into their life. So if you ever get a chance to have a chart reading with me, you'll find that out. But that's what a red gate is. That is what an unconscious gate is. Next, you have black, which is conscious. Black gates are super powerful because these are personality traits that you are able to tap into or even master in its highest form in this lifetime. The more alignment you are, the more these gates show up in your day-to-day life. Sometimes these gates can become very ego-driven because you are able to access that. There's some gates when I see people's charts and I'm like, oh, they have it in black. And they don't understand that. And then they say, oh, yeah, you're right. Because the black gates, the conscious gates, have so much power behind them because you're able to tap into them and unleash that into your personality, into it's just really powerful. So example, gate 64, and that's attached to the head center. That is the big picture gate, or just big thinking. And it's conscious and its highest form. It is thinking, it's illumination, it's seeing potential in everything. That is, I love for entrepreneurs to have gate 64. Sometimes it can get a little bit out of hand, but it is a really, really amazing gate. When I do celebrity chart analysis, I always look for who has what gates black, because those gates will catapult you and your career and your business. They're like, if you think about you on like jet skiing, your black gates are the boat that's pulling you. And it is like just the force behind you that's going to help you keep on going. Sometimes there are gates, when people have certain gates, I notice that in my studies that they're counterproductive in a way. So if somebody has a specific gate and I see they have something, like, okay, I can tell, like, this is where your problem is. This is where you're going to have issues with, because this gate consciously wants to do this, and then unconsciously you feel like this, and it never fails. Some people always have that in their chart somewhere. Not all the time, but 50-50 chance. So that's what a conscious gate is. The conscious gates are very powerful. And I hate to see when people have certain conscious gates that they are not utilizing and not stepping into that power, because it's very uncomfortable for them, because they know what it can sometimes go to that ego-driven side. And then you have, of course, the lovely checkered gates, which are black and red. And that means that it is an unconscious and conscious personality trait. So I believe that these personality traits, you are able to tap into and experience both the depressed side of the gate, or the not self side of the gate. And the goal is to stay in alignment and master the gate. So for example, if you have gate 5, and gate 5 is attached to the sacral center, that is like universal timing. So having that unconscious and conscious in its highest form is being very patient, timely execution, knowing when to strike, And in its lowest form, it's very impatient and pushy. So those personality traits will come out of you if you have them both. Or I like to say, when you have a conscious and unconscious gate, I'd like to think that your 20s you experience, in your like teens and 20s, you experience the low side of that gate. And then when you get to like more of a self-acceptance, self-acknowledgement, self-awareness, you start moving in the mastery, the conscious side of the gate. So that's just something important to know. Also, when it comes to the gates, it is just really important to not get overwhelmed with mastering all of them. I like to say start with one, and then work through that. Figure out what are the pros and cons. How does that show up in your life? Which I'm working on products for that are really amazing. And that is going to be really, really good. I'm not going to talk about it. It's just going to be really good, to help you work with your gates. Try to do that. Just focus on one thing. And we'll talk more about that in upcoming episodes when I do, of course, the relationship the relationship podcast. So many people have been asking me, DMing me, emailing me, when are you going to talk about relationships? So, and I'm just going to break and talk before I end this. I'm going to just say a little bit about the relationships. The relationship podcast is coming. I'm probably going to do 2 parts. One for my heterosexual couples and one for my same-sex couples. I think it's really important to acknowledge same-sex couples when it comes to human design and the particular pairings, because I've had same-sex couple clients, and in my studies on how it kind of works, and it's not any differently than a heterosexual couple or anything like that, but I've had same-sex couples come to me with issues that are the same as in, heterosexual couples, but it's just, some tweaks there. So I probably will do 2 parts for one for heterosexual couples and one for same-sex couples. So I can, because I want to hit both spectrums and to really just be inclusive when it comes to relationships. I'm not going to get too much into gender roles or anything like that. I'm just going to keep it, man and woman, man, woman, and do podcasts for that. So, I can hit the whole spectrum, and so everybody can feel like, because since I've dealt with clients who are both heterosexual couples and same-sex couples, I want to make sure I'm including everyone in when it comes to that, because I think that's just really important to me. So those I'm working on those, and just a disclaimer, just because I prefer a particular aura type with another aura type, that doesn't mean that your relationship sucks. It's just my assessment, my studies. It's so funny, manifesting generators get so upset when I say that generators and projectors are like power couples, legacy couples. This is just the studies that I've been doing with a lot of really wealthy couples. They're 9 times out of 10 that accumulate a massive wealth are either, and I'm not going to talk about here, but I'll talk about it on a podcast, but I'll just give you a little tidbit. They're either 2 generators together, a projector and a generator. Thirdly, they are either 2 manifesting generators. Those are like the top 3 wealth building couples that I have encountered in me studying power couples and couples who are very successful. It's either those 3. They are 2 generators, either a projector and a generator, or 2 manifesting generators together. Of course, I'm going to talk about all of the combinations and different things, because as we're talking about the gates, those gates are important too, because when it comes to having a relationship, it's very good when I match people's charts and what activates, because you and this is the great thing about human design, is because, and why I love it so much when it comes to relationships, is that when you finally have that right person for you and you see your charts together, you guys can activate things in each other that is really important. So when I talk about my favorite pairings, it's because of just the history that I've had in research. Like I tell you, I'm a 3-5. I am a, Enneagram 5. I'm an INFJ. I'm a researcher. So I am a studier. That's not even a word. I like to study things. I will take a course or a certificate program and spend my money and just for my own personal knowledge and not do anything with it because I just like to learn. So when I say that, I like specific couples, it's because I've just seen the dynamics of the legacies that they've built. That doesn't mean that you can't, if you are a projector, you can't build a legacy with a reflector or a manifesting generator. That just means that these are my favorites. Other human design experts might have their other favorites, but it all comes down to different things too with your chart, with your gates, and all of that stuff. So we will talk about that when I get to the relationship podcast. So keep a lookout for that. So this is going to be a part 1, part 2. I might do it in 3 parts. I'm not sure. I'm working out those outlines because like I said, I want to talk about, be inclusive to as many people as I can when it comes to relationships. So back to the gates. That was a little that was a sidetrack. So I hope you guys enjoyed that sidetrack. So back to the gates. So reasons why knowing you have certain gates in your chart is just not enough. So what happens is that other gates can have a stronger influence on you, so which can make it challenging to master the more powerful gates in your chart, like I was saying. So you could have a specific gate that is more dominant, if you want to say, and then this other gate makes it not be as dominant as it can be because this other gate has another strong force to it. So it's counterproductive. It's also the centers that the gate is attached to, it also plays a major role in how the gate shows up in your life. And then, like I said before, also what planetary and line influences rule your chart. And so also, and the important thing with the gates is how do you apply it to your life now? And so that is just super important. And how to apply it to your life now. Because if you've, I did a whole Facebook Live. If you go to my Facebook page, I did an entire live on Firefest and Billy McFarland and Ja Rule, and they have this particular gate that I've been studying for a while. Gate 26. I talk about a lot when I see people who have it. I'm just like, oh wow. And I'm working on something special just for that gate. Gate 26 is a very powerful gate. It can also be very dangerous as well. But in my research, when it is used properly, it is phenomenal for your business and especially for business and career. Absolutely. So, the gates influence so many things on how you do stuff. And it is just, it's just really magical. And it helps so much with other spiritual things that you're trying to influence in your life. And I mean, human design, and just, FYI to you guys, human design is like the baseline of what I do. I have so many other gifts, when it comes to the spiritual realm that I'm going to start exposing you guys to. Human design, and I always like to say it's like a tarot card for me. It's just a glimpse into who you are, and then the rest kicks in with my intuition and with my gifts and my abilities. And I'm going to start exposing you guys to more and more of that. So human design is like the little jumping off point, but Is My Aura on Straight is about your whole entire being, about how you walk and move in the world. What is your own personal way of life, the own personal legacy that you're trying to accomplish for yourself. We are here to do something. We are here for a purpose. It is not to just, as they say, the meme, go to work and die. yes, you can work and you can have a purpose. So don't let people say, oh, you have to quit your job or anything like that. You can have purpose in your work environment. You can have purpose in your family. You can have purpose in your community. You can have purpose with your business. And it's my goal to get down to the bottom of things, and help people get down to the bottom of things in their life and to the core, and to start living that way. That's really important to me. Ever since I was a kid, I always had this innate feeling in me and this innate drive to see people be their best and do their best. I might get a little emotional. But I hate when people say that they can't do something, or they are afraid to do something. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I'm a risk taker. And that risk, of course, comes with a price, but I don't grasp the concept of people not taking leaps and not risking things to make their life better, or to improve their situations, or to live their dreams. So, when you come to me for a reading or coaching or anything, I'm going to motivate the entire fuck out of you, because I know what it's like to not be in a space that you want to be, and I know what it's like to be in a space that you really desire. And so that's super important to me. That is part of my purpose, to help people get to the bottom of why they're here and to fulfill that. And what we're doing here with Human Design is just the surface, and I'm going to start talking about other things that are super important. So I hope you'll still listen. But Human Design is just the jumping off point for the work that I do, and that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And it's really, really exciting. I always tell people, and I just got off a phone call, I wish more people would just listen to me, because they would just have the results that you have. And she's, she was just like, you're right, they should. And I was just like, and I tell people all the time, because when you listen to me, you just get steered on the right path. But whatever. It's not about me. This is about you and your destiny and your purpose, and making sure that you live each day to the best possible way that you can. If anybody's listening to this and you are feeling stuck, you are feeling scared about anything, that lean into that fear, lean into that being scared, lean into that I don't know what I'm doing, because I can promise you that feeling that is within you is for a purpose. It is to move you closer towards your purpose, towards your destiny. You are not here to be average. You are not here to just exist. You are here to be an extraordinary human being, and that is my purpose, to assist you in doing that through this podcast, through if you work with me one-on-one, through my courses, through just experiencing me. So I'm not gonna continue, because I'm about to cry, because that's how passionate I am about seeing people fulfill their dreams. It is really, really just super, super important to me. But anyway, make sure you follow me on Instagram at AC Brown. If you don't know your aura type, please click the link in my bio, fill it out, and I will get back to you and with some links and resources. If you haven't experienced a Human Design reading with me, I would suggest you do so. And reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you want to know about my coaching or packages or anything like that. But until next time, please have a great day filled with love, light, energy, and all of that good stuff. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? Make sure you follow me on Instagram at AC Brown, and also check out my website for products and services at www.acbrown.com. And until we meet again, make sure you have a great week filled with good vibes and good energy.